Consciousness is awareness, and awareness is noticing and paying attention. So when you see a person who has a transformation, and you see the science that says in a week-long event, there'll be over 600 metabolic changes in 75% of the audience for the better in a 1-week event. When you know that, you're aware of another possibility that may not be the possibility that we think is free will to choose from knowns. This is now, you're stepping outside. And when a person shows up and believes in themselves and does the work, they're believing in possibility. You cannot believe in possibility and believe in yourself. Not believe in yourself. You got to believe in yourself and believe in possibility. You got to believe in possibility. You got to believe in yourself. So for me personally, it's way bigger than me. I'm very humbled on a regular basis. Every time I get another testimonial, I say this person is speaking the truth, and it's a footprint for somebody else to step into. And I think the world needs that more than ever. So for me, my greatest passion, my greatest joy, I think there's something in us, Glenn, that's so empathetic. Now we have universities that are studying people that can be healed remotely. You don't even need to be in their presence. If you understand the science of quantum physics and you understand how to do it, you can hit a target and heal another person at a distance, and there it is, and there it's gone. Now, when you see that occur, there's some kind of empathy. I drop in on the calls of these people that show up every single day of their life to heal another person, and they do at least 3 or 4 a day. And these people, they're not doing it because they want to be a healer. They're doing it because, well, how they feel when they see a mother who's comes on the Zoom call and says, my daughter was, handicapped from birth. She had a traumatic birth. She's listless, unresponsive, never looked at her brothers. And all of a sudden, this kid is smiling at her brothers and trying to talk. And you watch the people on the Zoom call that are the healers. You see we're all in tears. There's this empathy that takes place where we're contributing as a species to one another, that we were part of somebody's transformation. We gave in some way. Another one of us is better, and this kind of feeling of empathy, this feeling of connection is so profound that goes against all those survival and stress emotions that create division and polarity and separation and distrust. And so that's when community starts coming together. That's when we start to cooperate, and it's got to be from the heart. So I'm super hopeful about what we're doing. Let's see if I can explain this as simple as possible. Living in stress is living in survival. Mm-hmm. And survival is a very primitive mechanism that allows us to really adapt to an environment that's threatening or dangerous. The moment you perceive a danger or threat, you switch on an autonomic function in your body, the sympathetic nervous system, and there's an arousal. The arousal of those hormones causes a heightening of the senses, because now we want to become more acute that there's a danger there. If there's a tiger in the bushes and you hear something rumbling around and it's night, you're going to either run, fight, or freeze or hide. That's your choices. And so that works really well in survival for the short term, because the arousal causes us feeling like we're more our body. We get a rush of energy. The arousal causes our brain waves to change and to move into a more alert state. We narrow our focus on what it is in the environment. We're giving it our attention, all of our attention. And now we're trying to predict what's going to happen in the future based on what we've known in the past. So we're overlaying a known into the future so that we can prepare. And normally when we don't know what it is, the unknown causes us to feel these primitive emotions of survival, and it's best to run. It's best to fear the unknown. So the challenge becomes that works really well for the short term. But when you switch on this system and you're mobilizing enormous amounts of the body's energy and resources for some threat in your outer world, there's no energy in your inner world for growth and repair. There's no energy for long-term building projects. And we start tapping the body's vital resources, and that's what creates mental health or physical health or spiritual disease, right? So because no organism can live in that emergency state for that extended period of time. It's like there's a hurricane coming through Australia, you're not going to be thinking about remodeling your kitchen at that time. It's not a time for long-term projects, right? So now when we're in stress and we're in survival, the self is the most important. You don't trust, it's not a time to love, it's not a time to learn, it's not a time to communicate, it's not a time to be vulnerable, it's not a time to open your heart, it's not the time to sit down and close your eyes and go within. You would be eaten. The survival gene is switched on. And people spend 70% of their time living in this state. So then in that state where the arousal takes place, the brain moves into a heightened brainwave pattern called beta brainwave pattern. Now, as I said, that's like driving your sports car in first gear on the freeway. It's the jump start, but you can't do it for a long period of time because in stress is signaled by the loss of control. Not being able to predict the next moment, the unknown, or the perception that something's going to get worse. And when you're in that state, you start trying to control and predict everything in your life, and you shift your attention from one person to another problem, to another thing, to another place, to another object, to a group of situations. And every one of those elements has a neurological network in the brain. So the arousal causes the brain, like a lightning storm in the clouds, to start firing out of order. It starts firing incoherently. And when the brain is incoherent, we're incoherent. When the brain isn't working right, we're not working right. So then now the person is aroused in that state. It's never occurred to them that they could change that. In fact, they're telling you, I am this way because of my boss, because of my ex, because of my past, because of the news, because of the global situation, whatever it is. And what they're really saying is, I'm using something in my outer environment to validate or justify why I feel this way. So then that means then they're also going to be dependent on something in their outer environment to make them feel better. And whether it's a drug or a treatment or whatever it is, complaining, whatever it is that makes them feel better. And the moment they notice that they've done something and they've used something outside of them to make that feeling go away, they'll pay attention to what it was. And every time they feel that feeling, they'll become dependent on it. So now they're more dependent on their environment. So then the subconscious program is when things are good, you feel good. But when things are bad, you feel bad. So you're completely victim to your environment. And the environment is actually controlling the way you feel and think.